Hey guys, Dave here at Blue Bears Games with another edition of $20 Magic Budget Decks. Today's episode, the White Knighter. We all know it. Internet trolls exist, so why not have the White Knighters to go with it? This deck is typically just a White Weenie deck. Anybody who doesn't know White Weenie, it's basically small, efficient creatures, and then just buff them. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the White Knighter. It is a Knight Tribal deck. So let's go ahead and see what I got. So we start off with Dauntless Bodyguard. It is a 1 to cast, do 1. Typically that's pretty good. It used to be back in the day Savannah Lions was a rare. Now they put that in the uncommon slot. So I guess as power creep happens, so goes the rarity of a 1 to cast 2-1. But he not only is just a vanilla 2-1 with no abilities, he actually has an ability that when he enters the battlefield you can actually choose a creature. And if you need to, you can make that creature indestructible by sacking them. So, I went with 2 of them. The next 1-drop is a Caravan Escort. It's essentially just a vanilla 1-1 for 1. However, when you level it up, it can become a 5-5 first striker. One of the things that you'll notice about a lot of the knights in this deck, they get first strike. So, even if it's just through leveling up. So I put 2 of those in there. Those are the 1-drops. The 2-drops start with a Leon Sky Hunter. It is one of the few flying creatures in the deck. It's good for evasion. You need that when it comes to White Weenie just because the creatures are small. We will show you, I will show you later, that that's not always the case, the way that I built this deck. So I put a pair of them in. And the card that the deck was named after, the White Knight. This is how knights typically were back in the day. They were 2 to cast, 2/2s, pro from a color, this one is black, and first strike. The first strike is kind of helpful, especially from chump blockers. They do not have the ability to keep their chump blockers alive. So, 2 of those. The next 2-drop is a 2 to cast, 2/2 Intimidator. The Intimidate is essentially fear, but for white. Fear is that they can't be blocked except by creatures of their own color and artifacts. So I went with 2 of those. The next knight is the Silver Knight. Like I said, back in the day, they all used to be 2 to cast, 2/2, first striking and pro from a color. This one is protection from red. So basically, it can't be burned off the board. The 3-drop, Kemba Sky Guard. I went with Kemba because it's got flying. It's a 2/2 flyer, and again, knights just don't have a lot of flying creatures, so put 2 of those in there. And the bonus of it is that when it comes into play, you can gain some life back. So I put 2 of those in. The Dominaria cards that I added in here was actually what inspired me to make this deck. This is one of them, Danita. Sure, she's legendary, but she's still a 3 to cast 2/2 first strike, vigilance, lifelink, and another ability. All auras and aura enchantments and equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Yes, we are in white. Yes, our creature control will be not removal, but basically enchantment based. So she's a good addition to the deck. There's 2 of them. Remember, when you play a legendary creature, you can only have 1 on the board, or you have to kill 1. The next one is Quinn, Pride of Temerith. 4 to cast, 2/2. Double strike, and all your creatures with first strike get double strike. It's kind of interesting. A lot of your stuff in here will have first strikes, and now it will have double strike. Kabira Vindicator was the next one for 4. This is where I started to buff all the creatures around on the deck. So knights are usually pretty small. I decided to go with a lot of anthem effects for this deck to make them bigger. This one's a 4 to cast 2/4, but when you level it up, other creatures you control start to get +1/+1. And then when you level up even further, it becomes a 4/8 that they get +2/+2. That is 2 of them in the deck. That is 2 anthem effects that I put in here to make the creatures bigger. So that was the creatures. Now for the enchantments. I've got one in here that's a little techie, so I'll show you that in a minute. So a place of the pacifisms because they're just classic. But this is where my tech comes in. I put in 2 bonds of faith. If I had more of these, they would go in a heartbeat. It is a enchantment that says the creature gets +2/+2 +2/+2 as long as it's human. Most knights are human. Almost every one of them in here was a human except for maybe 2. so it gets +2/+2, so more buffing. Or you can put it on an opponent's creature that may not be human, and it's basically a pacifism, but for the same cost as pacifism. If I had more of these, I would have put more in, trust me. Choking Restraints, 3 to cast. It basically is a pacifism. However, you can sacrifice the Choking Restraints to exile the creature it's on. That's important for things that have effects, like a vampire who says whenever you attack with a vampire you lose a life. You can kind of get that out off the board. It's basically the removal spell of the deck. Bound in Silence, another pacifism style card. It's just a little bit more to cast. You can only have 4 of anything in a deck, so I had to go with different ones. Arrest is a little bit closer to what I was hoping to look for on all of them, but only so many exist. It basically is pacifism, but its activated abilities can't be activated as well. So if there's something on the board that activates and does something that you don't like, you can go ahead and use it for that. Oblivion Ring. Oblivion Ring is so good. It just says exile a non-land permanent. Remember that. It doesn't have to be a creature. It just doesn't have to be a land. So if there's an artifact, another enchantment, a planeswalker, these are good to get rid of them. So I put a play set of them in just because it's the anti-planeswalker card of the deck. For the rares, I went with Valiant Knight because it's an anthem. Again, anthems are things that give a specific type of creatures +1/+1. In this case, this one gives all other knights +1/+1. The added bonus is it's also a 3/4, so it's pretty undercosted at 4 to cast anyway. But then it has another ability that knights you control gain double strike in case you don't have out the other legendary creature that gives your first strikers double strike. This just gives all of your knights double strike. So that was a little neat. Knight of the White Orchid. 2 to cast, 2/2 first striker, like I was telling you about that most knights usually were. This one doesn't have protection. This one actually has something that kind of helps you clear your deck out of land or helps you catch up if you're behind. When Knight of the White Orchid enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for planes and put it onto the battlefield. It's basically if you have, it's white, it's mono white weenie. You shouldn't need more than 2 lands out, but if for some reason you do have a bad hand, it'll help you get some land out if your opponent's ahead. Not only that, but it helps you thin out your deck a little bit. I'm a big fan of thinning out your deck of lands whenever you can. An Anthem. Honor of the Pure. White creatures you control get +1/+1. That essentially makes 4 Anthems in the deck, 2 of which give +2/+2 in the right circumstances. You can basically get up to +6/+6 on all your first striking or double striking protection from colored creatures. So I went with the Honor of the Pure. The special card. Another Anthem. My foil card for the deck is Always Watching. 3 to cast. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1. And the most important part is the Vigilance for this. When all of your creatures are attacking as first strikers and not being blocked, they're also staying back to be able to block for the next turn. So I went with an Always Watching. Alright, now, we are a monocolor deck, so most of the lands are going to be plains. However, I have some specialties in here. The first one is Stanstone Bridge. It enters tapped, but when it comes into play, target creature gets +1/+1 and Vigilance until end of turn. So, if it's early game, it'll affect your ability to cast things. However, most things in this deck only cost 2 or 3, so you should be okay if this comes early. If it comes late, though, you can surprise somebody with a Vigilance creature coming at them and the ability for it to block after that. Desert of the True. Basically, it's my cycling land for the deck. If it's late game, we're monocolor, so you don't really need a whole lot of lands. You want to get them out of the way. Go ahead and cycle it to draw a card. And then my faux fetches is what I'm going to call them, Evolving Wilds, to help get more land out of there. So, that is my White Knighter deck. White Weenie, based on Knights Tribal. So, there you go.